Hello and welcome everybody to our Jumpstart session today. Our Accelerated Jumpstart program for the next 3 days will introduce you to planning and deploying as well as administering Office 365. So I have an instructor with me today who will help us doing this, and we will have total fun for 3 days. And first of all, we want to introduce ourselves and make sure you know who you're talking with.
Right. So we have Stefan. So I'm the instructor, and he's my buddy. So Stefan is an enterprise solution strategist, and he works with Office 365, Exchange, Lync, with all the executive level guys, and he's basically the earring mechanism for Microsoft. So if you have a concern about it, you know where to go.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Ajinka. I have Ajinka Pinto with me. He is your instructor for this Module 1 today. And most importantly, thank you for your gracious introduction on this. He's a Microsoft Partner Technical Consultant. He's very excited about technology. He will convey all the Office 365 content to you with this real-life experience he has from the last 3 years at Microsoft to more than 7 years in the industry, already teaching this to partners from understanding Office 365, how to bring it in, how to administer it, and all the way to the end of deploying it. So real-life experience is what Ajinka brings you to this topic. And he has been working on Exchange, Lync, Office 365, and most importantly, he has passed the exams already that we will prepare you to be certified through. And I think one of the most important things about Ajinka is outside of work, he's still very passionate about technology. He teaches at colleges, speaks to students, inspires them at events, Ignite events. So we were really grateful to have him here.
It's a pleasure.
Great. So what are the expectations for today? Jumpstart expectations. This is a 3-day course. We will prepare you for 2 exams. The first exam is 7323. And the first day is more about administering Office 365. So how do we administer Office 365? After it's already being deployed. And that's day 1, split up in 6 modules. When we go to day 2 and 3, that's when we go back into how do we plan for Office 365, what are the basics before we actually go out for Office 365 and get it implemented, and then, of course, how to deploy it, what to know, a lot of demos on that regard. And we will then go on and have to understand what you first of all need to know about the whole session. What is the assumed knowledge? This is not a beginner's program, so there's a whole list of things we assume you already have familiarity with. In terms of technologies, here's a list: server technologies, client technologies. You don't have to be extremely deep in all of those technologies, but these are the basics we expect you to have in order to get into this program, get a full understanding, and be fully prepared for Office 365, be fully prepared for those 2 exams in the preparation, and then be certified subsequently after we conveyed all this content to you. Now, we also want to make sure that you have a good understanding of where you're going to go after this, right? So it's one thing to be certified for it. It's more importantly, we want to prepare you with real-life scenarios or our experience. Well, I've been talking to executives on a high level, big picture guy. Ajinka knows about the implementation, knows everything end-to-end to the most granular thing. Make sure you come in and ask questions and keep this fun. And then you take this after you're being certified and implement it with your customers, your partners, and in your own company. Now, let's look at the schedule. As I said, it's 3 days. We start out with day 1, administering Office 365. And Office 365 is something that before you deploy it, making sure understanding what the overview is, what is it all about from the licensing, and what are the technologies underlying to it. Then we go after that into the basic user management. From there, we're looking at directory synchronization, Active Directory Federation services, taking a break, and then break it down and show you how to administer all the 3 technologies that are mainly Office 365 consists of. Talk about Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Lync Online, how to administer those. Day 2, the planning mostly, how to plan for Office 365, and then day 3, deploying it. So with that, I'd like to hand it over and have Ajinka start out on the first module, give us an overview of Office 365. And last thing before we get started, you see on the right-hand side, if you have the screen fully exposed and only see the video, there's two things. There's a Q&A pane on the right-hand side. So if you go back, hit escape and look at the Q&A pane, that's where you can ask questions. There's a couple of tabs. First tab is where you can ask all the questions about Office 365. There's a help tab. If you have issues with the slides, can't see anything, have audio issues, please post your questions there. FAQ, self-explanatory, in general information. And then Twitter feed. You can follow us also at hashtag #MSJumpstart if you like. So if you post some of those questions, I see those questions here too. And if you have a really cool question, bring it up. I can have this question here live answered with Ajinka or the other instructor we will introduce later. So please keep this exciting, interesting, and make this interactive. Thank you very much from my end. And Ajinka, please get us started with Module 1.
Thank you, Stefan.
Sure.
Okay, so we have 3 solid packed days like Stefan introduced. And we're going to learn a lot about Office 365. So keeping in mind that it's about the big picture, end-to-end understanding. So we recommend you sticking by all 3 days to get a complete understanding. All right, so for today, we have, starting with the Office 365 overview. So we'll run through a bit of what's the whole offering about, what are the licensing pieces, the features that I introduced, a couple of software requirements, and I'll walk you through the admin console, which we'll just get comfortable with it. So I'm understanding a lot of you will or may have already worked with it, but keep with us and we'll keep on building on that. Okay. Right. So when we're looking at Office 365, basically 4 core technologies that we're bringing into the cloud as a service. We introduced Office Professional Plus last year with Office 365 as a subscription. So people can actually download Office from the Office 365 console and install it and use it as a subscription as opposed to buying a retail version or a volume license for that matter. And with that, we continue to build on the Exchange 2010 pieces in the cloud. So we have Exchange Online, and similarly with SharePoint and Lync. So we moved from Office Communications Server 2007 R2 to Lync Server 2010 in this release. So Office 365 basically has a couple of I'd say, pillars on which we built it, right from being accessible anywhere, being easy to use, and almost immediate to deploy. Again, depends on different scenarios, how you're deploying it. We'll have a look into more of that as we go along. So to start with, just to give you a brief introduction into Office Professional Plus and how it's different or how it's similar to what you have on premises. So when you download Office Professional Plus from the cloud, you're going to have a little tie-in to that or a little modification to that piece where it's going to check on the internet every now and then to say, hey, do you have the appropriate licenses that you need to be running that? Else it's going to drop to limited functionality and let you use it. Say you're traveling and you don't have an internet connection for maybe a week, 2 weeks, which is mostly not going to happen. But just in case you run into that, you're in a part of the world where internet isn't still discovered, well, it's still going to work for you.
Right.
All right.
So you basically get 2 versions of Office here, right? You get the web app version and you get the full rich client with Office 365.
Exactly. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
So you can access Office right from the Internet Explorer or any other browser, and you can create documents, you can view Excel, PowerPoints, you can even work with OneNote from the browser itself, and that's wow.
Yeah, and one of the things that I always want to talk to executives, one of the things that wows them is that we take this from a device-based client access license, right, very tied to a PC, out to the world, right, whether it's the browser, whether it's the phone, whether it's a PC. So it's a subscription, an Office Pro Plus, and it's user-based, right?
Yep.
So, but the experience is the same in Office Pro Plus. How many devices can you actually install Office Pro Plus in the user?
You can go up to 5
to 5
per user.
Right. So, very important point. Cool.
Thank you. All right. So with that, the next we have SharePoint Online, basically. So SharePoint, you probably have used it more than I have. I'm more of an Outlook guy. So it's a collaboration tool, web-based again. So basically you can access it from anywhere around the world using a web browser. You plug in a URL, reach the SharePoint Online link, and you can upload content, download it. You can have your public websites. And we'll talk in detail as we go along, drill down into SharePoint as to what you can do, what you can't do, as compared to the on-premises version of it. And we'll also talk about what's supported, what's not. But just to give you a little brief, when you sign up for SharePoint, you get about 10 gig or 10 GB of storage space, plus you get 500 megabytes per user that you subscribe for. So for your organization, because you're subscribing into SharePoint Online, you're going to get 10 GB straight. And for every user that you're subscribing for, you're going to have 500 meg in addition to that. So that just accumulates on the space, and it's a pooled storage. So you can basically share that storage across different websites. You're not restricted to that user only. It's just how we calculate it.
The cool thing is you don't need SQL Server, right? So it's just there available for you.
No SQL, no hardware.
Right.
You're good. Right, and finally, we have the websites, we have Office. Oh, something missing. We still need to send and receive emails.
Absolutely.
That's reality.
You leave an email.
So we have about 25 gigs of space that we provide across different licenses in Office 365. That's the base storage for what we call as the primary mailbox that you're going to be using. And based on different plans that you could choose, you could kind of scale to unlimited storage, which is wow, right? So that's Exchange Online, and you can use Outlook Web App. You can sync your phone. If you're using ActiveSync, that works just fine. For the folks that like BlackBerry, we have RIM that's providing a hosted service to plug in with the Office 365 Exchange Online, and you can synchronize your BlackBerry devices with a BlackBerry subscription as well.
Very cool. But my favorite is missing, right? The one I cannot live without. I live in email, but one of the things that I need to be connected. What's that? Huh? Tell me.
Calendars?
Well, no. We're moving on.
Give
me a link. I need my link.
Okay.
Yes.
This guy's in a hurry. So, well, with Exchange, we have Lync Online. So I love to socialize. I'll be at work with one chat client open. I'd like to say Windows Live Messenger, but I have a chat client open, and I'll be chatting with someone at any point in time. But for your business purposes, we have Lync Online. Just like you have the on-premises Lync Server 2010, we've deployed it in the cloud, and we're providing instant messaging, presence, where you can I can see Stefan's busy or he's not at his desk, but and you can do PC to PC calling, audio, video, conferencing, and we'll look into a little more nitty-gritties as we go along in the Lync module that's going to come. So
yeah, I mean, Lync is just perfect. Even you basically create a connection even with partners outside, right? Up to 250 people you can invite to a Lync meeting, and they don't have to have a Lync client. Just send them a link. A link with an I, not with a Y in this case, a link, and they just open it up, and they're connected. So I love Lync. Glad we have this in this suite.
So usually when we're delivering our sessions, we usually use Lync, but yeah, we're good. All right. So for the guys that are wondering, if Internet Explorer is the only browser that you're going to be able to use for all these great tools that you can access over the web, well, we've scaled in terms of the web browsers that you can use. Internet Explorer is, well, the recommended way, the preferred version, because we provided that. But you can use Mozilla if you're a Firefox favorite, or if you have a Mac, you can just open Safari and start right away. No limited functionality as such.
Yeah, no, because now we're covering basically the whole world of computers, right? It's not just the PC within Explorer. We reach with Safari, the Macintosh, the Mac OS, and with Firefox, that's where we reach with Unix and Linux users. And I think Chrome is now certified too, and supported. So if you are a fan of Chrome, like how fast it is, if it's fast for you, you can use that. So all of that is supported.
That's right. All right. And from mobile device perspective, we were talking about ActiveSync and BlackBerry basically. But when you're looking at mobile devices, you have a huge number of mobile devices today. And in addition to that, you also have tablets. Right? So basically, any device that has ActiveSync enabled, or BlackBerry, or POP, or IMAP, or just a browser, and you can stay connected with Office 365.
Yep.
Right, so that's the whole anywhere access piece. We're talking about staying connected, working, just having an internet connection. Right. So we talk about cloud, and Microsoft is one of the, I think, only providers today in the world that's providing a combination between cloud services and on-premises, and actually having an integration between both. So based on customer requirements and what is the feature set or how extensive they need to go, if scalability is more important to them, or there's a particular feature or an add-on that they want to use, depending on the priority of that situation, you can look at an on-premises or a cloud version, or you can actually look at running both together and have a seamless experience, which we'll drill into more and more as we go along in different sessions. Right? And for the IT administrators that are on this webinar today, we have basically your backs covered. We're managing the service for you. You have access to your 24/7 support. You can just pick up a phone, dial in, and you can talk to one of our support guys to, well, get some help. With that, you can also have access to the Office 365 forums where you can post, and one of us will, again, respond to that. So that's the whole support piece. It's part of your subscription. Again, when we talk more about licensing, I'll talk about the eligibilities for different types of support. Right. So one of the most crucial conversations to have with customers and partners is the data security. And I'm sure Stefan would have faced this a lot in his conversations.
First thing I've been asked most of the time is, how can it be secure if I cannot get a hold of my data, right? If you own it rather than myself. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So the data is basically always the customers. We're not taking it away from you. And the way we maintain data across data centers across the globe is in a secure way. We have one of the best data centers, state-of-the-art, that you can imagine. Currently, we just ship it in a container, place it, so our scalability from a implementation perspective is very high, and at the same time, mobility is part of it. But looking at the different levels that we're providing in terms of security, when we're looking at just the premises and how we manage the entire setup. We're looking at the hardware infrastructure, network security. We're looking at personnel who's actually managing these Office 365 services and how they understand and are tied down by NDAs and other non-disclosure agreements between them and us to keep you guys secure and your data and information secure. So again, we have a session that talks more in detail about this particular piece in terms of security. So I won't take away from the other presenters just yet. And for the folks that are worried about, okay, you know, okay, we're saying we're good, we're secure, but what's really putting, you know, the stamp on all of that? So what we're doing from time to time and keeping it renewed is different certifications required, which means that if we have a particular certification, we meet X number of requirements that are entailed in that particular certification. So you can be rest assured this is being third-party audited from the authorities themselves, and if they're verifying it, we're good. And you can find more information. There's the Trust Center that we published some time back that talks about all of these certifications. It talks about where you can actually guide your customers to have a look at these certifications if they have questions, which certifications are there, how are we maintaining security. And this is updated from time to time. So if you want to find the latest information at quick reference, there's the link on your screens right now. And it says Trust Center, or you can just Bing it, search for it, and you'll find it.
And actually, that's mostly the easiest answer to clear all the questions that are away with customers around security. Point them to the Trust Center, because that's living data. If you see those certifications here, for folks in the EU model clause is something that we got certified in. For folks in the US, for HIPAA and FISMA, we are not now certified. And that's all extending and being recertified because some of those certifications expire. So Trust Center is really the answer for you here to get the latest content information.
Right. And for the folks that are wondering, you know, we're talking more about sales here or marketing pieces here, but understanding the big picture with respect to what Office 365 has, how does it offer it, how we're maintaining it, is going to help understand the bigger picture when you're driving through scenarios or particular situations with your customers and being able to provide them a more detailed, descriptive solution when you actually get down and you're facing them. So we have more coming up, and let's dive into the different offerings that are provided. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all. We have a very flexible way of offering the online services, right from the education customers to the small businesses and professionals, and of course the enterprises. So across these 3 days where the different modules that are going to come, we're going to basically focus on the small and medium business subscription, and we're going to focus on the Office 365 for enterprises. That's going to be our core focus. If you're looking at more information about Live at EDU, or Windows Home Office and Home and Business, there are a couple of training programs in the Office 365 Community Help, where you can find a couple of videos that you can just refer to if that's specific. Again, the point to remember here is the platform across all of these is the same. It's the Office 365 platform that we deployed at the back end. It's just a feature set that's changing with these different pieces. So I'd like to actually share another piece here. If you guys have you read the service description by any chance? I'm sure you did.
I did. I don't know every single word of it, but yes, of course.
Okay, so it's quite a lengthy document. Yes. That's the way it's built to provide all the information as to what are the different services we provide, what are the limitations, and how we're doing in terms of a comparison in some of the cases with on-premises.
Yeah, definitely a worthwhile read, and a great reference document for anything you go to for features.
So, highly recommended to keep it in your pen drive.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So the first one that we're targeting here is the Plan P. So P is in Peter. I know my pronunciation is not that good. So
Perfect.
that's the small business and professionals plan. So if you go to office365.com, you'll find the latest pricing for these bits right there. We just revised this, I think, about a month or so back, where we slashed the prices literally. So when we're talking about the small business and professional plan, it's about 50 users as the cap that you can go to. Recommended is around 1 to 25 users, and keep some growth space for that organization, because everybody's wanting to grow. So that's so that's the pre-plan. It gives you the basic functionalities in terms of your email, calendar. You have mobile connectivity, of course. Outlook web app remains as it is. You get a 25 gig mailbox with archiving included within that 25 gig. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at your data size really growing above that, that's probably one of the indicators that you're looking for at looking at a different licensing or subscription model within the Office 365 piece. The rest of the pieces, like Forefront, which provides anti-spam, antivirus functionalities, it just comes with the Exchange Online piece as long as you're subscribed into it. And that's the whole base, or the basic. And a couple of indicators, like the storage space is one, the number of users that you may exceed is another. And if you're looking at more advanced features, where you're looking at more of a single sign-on experience using the same user ID and password basically that you're doing on premises with your Active Directory, or if you're looking at more on the BlackBerry space, things like these are probable indicators that you want to look at the enterprise subscription of Office 365, because that moves beyond the basic functionalities that an organization needs and just pushes it up to the next level.
All right, so basically number of users, if you have 50 or more in short term, right, because we're all growing, if you go beyond 50, if you are concerned about storage space, as well as advanced features. We list some. I'm not sure if this is an exhaustive list we have here, actually.
These are the core that we're looking at, but there's more.
But these are the three pillars we have to look at in considering whether we want to be in the P plan or the plan you're introducing now, right?
And if you're thinking, where can we get this kind of information, there's a great tool again on Office365.com, which says help you choose your plan. I think it said that. Yeah. But you click on it, it's a simple wizard-based tool. You select your needs, and the tool will automatically propose which plan fits your needs best. So I think that's the easiest way to go.
That's great advice, yeah. Use that.
All right, so let's have a look at the Office 365 plan. Now, when we step into Office 365 Enterprise plan, that's E1, E2, E3, E4, if you're wondering what it sounds like, we have a lot of synonyms for the different plans. So we have 2 access licenses, basically, within the Office 365 Enterprise plan. So the small business is straight, you just subscribe per user and you're good. When the enterprise space, you have a bit of differentiation that you can make in terms of cost and functionality for different users across your enterprise. So if you're looking at a user whose core job is not at a computer or an email, probably a flow shop worker, or maybe if you're running a retail outlet, or if your customer is running a retail outlet, the manager there. They, of course, need to communicate over email maybe once in a while or once a day, but their core job is probably machining something, or is going to be managing the customer face-to-face. So that's the kind of user, or the indicators that probably you don't require the information worker license for them, or the enterprise full-blown license, but you're looking at a kiosk worker, as we put it. So if you're looking at the licensing model, which I'll walk you through, we have what it is called as a K1 and a K2 license. And with the enterprise information worker licenses, it's just an E1, E2, E3, and E4 license that you're looking at. So different plans.
So we're talking about the kiosk worker side for workers who do not have a PC today, who are not licensed, who are not using our productivity technology today. They don't have access to it. So this will empower them to get access to it.
Communications, that's what we're looking
Absolutely.
for. Yeah. Right. So on the feature set side of things, the kiosk worker, we were providing about 500 meg for their storage space for email. We bumped it up to about 1 gig. The deployment's completed somewhere around April this fiscal, so watch out for that piece. From an accessibility perspective, again, the kiosk worker had just light over that they could use by default. The overlight version would load for them. With the April release, again, they have access to the full premium edition. Secondly, they can also connect using POP and IMAP to the backend services, so they can use Outlook in a way. And we also introduced mobility, so they can now use Exchange Active Sync with even the kiosk license, which really enables them to stay connected. Like Stefan said, it's probably a user that does not have a computer, but we all have phones, and that can help them stay connected.
Yeah, I mean, phones, very powerful computers compared to what we had in the 80s.
Yep. Right, so that's the kiosk user. Look, from a SharePoint side, the kiosk user is a read-only user. Probably that's another indicator that you're looking for specifically. If there's a user that needs to upload content, needs to manage data in SharePoint, then you're moving towards a E-license or an enterprise license for that particular user. So from an enterprise user perspective, the E1, E2, E3, and E4, we're looking at, like we talked about, 25 gigs of space for email, 500 meg per subscription license in SharePoint. The rest of the features stay extensive. We'll drill down into what these different plans provide us, and let's have a look. So I've not put the pricing here on purpose. That's something that we direct you to the office365.com website. That's a great place to kind of, I come into the office before I open Outlook. Literally, I go to the website, check for any updates, what's happening.
Change, right?
Yeah. And then open Outlook. So that's the place to go. But just to get an idea of what are different plans here, like we were talking about, the K family plan is nothing but the kiosk user, and the E family plan is nothing but your information worker that we were talking about. And if you see the components within the K1 plan, it's Exchange and SharePoint, which is the basic functionality that any of them would require. If some of them have access to a full-blown computer or maybe a shared computer for that matter, then and required to work with documents or Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote, then you can bump it to the K2 plan, which is a bit addition to the kiosk user K1.
So you basically get Office at that point.
But that's the web app version, not the full-blown. Right?
Still edit and creation capabilities, even at a reduced feature set.
Yep. And the second is the E plan, the enterprise plan. I've been referring to E1, E2, E3, E4, so you can see the basic bars grow here. And each of these provides you with a extended set of functionalities. So if you're looking at basic functionalities, you're looking at IM presence, collaboration, email, archiving, personal archive. One thing to remember here is a common question that we get is, you guys have archiving, which subscription do we need to go for to get it? So we have archiving across all of these plans, except for the kiosk user. So if you're using the small business plan, they have archiving, but the key is that's going to be within the 25 gig limit. If you're looking at E1 and E2 plans, again, it's going to be within the 25 gig limit, but once you go E3 and E4, it's unlimited storage. We kind of place 100 GB limit on the stores back at our side, but if you think you're going to exceed them, or if you are reaching that limit, you just need to call support and tell them, hey, we need this to be bumped up a bit, and they'll do that for you because that's unlimited storage.
Yes.
Right, so that's the E3 and E4 plan. And now, when you're looking at a couple of additional services, for the guys who are familiar with SharePoint, we have Excel services and Visio services within SharePoint that's available. You also have Office Pro Plus, which is the pinnacle of the subscription. Now, that does not mean that I have to go with the E3 plan. You can do combinations, permutations, because each of these functionalities like email, I'm in presence, and conferencing, which is bundle, the Office Pro Plus and Office Web Apps, which is a bundle, you can buy that separately and just pay for that piece if you don't need the rest of the functionalities that are provided in that particular plan. So you have a good flexibility. It just need to take a bit of time to recognize your customers' needs and focus the plan accordingly.
Now, again, my customers, when I talk to them, are mostly confused is you have SharePoint, Exchange, Lync Online, streamed to you as a service. Why Office Pro Plus, right? It's not being streamed to you, you install it like a regular rich client. What's the benefit? Why would I license it through this?
Right, so I'd probably put that back to Stefan in a bit, but
kind of set myself up for that. But I mentioned that before, and we talked about this. It's a subscription, and now it's user-based licensing instead of device-based licensing. Has an advantage when you look at how many devices we have today, right? We talked about the ubiquity of devices we have, phones, tablets, PCs, mobile PCs. So everybody has 2 or 3 devices at the very least. Having a user-based licensing just makes fiscally more sense for a lot of customers. And it's much easier in a subscription rather than being in a maybe 3-year model, you're in a 1-year model. That's preferable for some customers. So that's very good to know when you talk to customers why they would consider doing that.
And to add on to that, the beauty of all the Office 365 or the online services is you get the latest that we are providing. So one of the major difficulties today is getting customers upgrade the versions that they have on premises, and Office is one of them that's sitting on their desktops. And if you really want to leverage the features-rich functionality that Exchange 2010 or the Exchange Online services today has to provide, you have to be on the latest Outlook 2010 or Office 2010 Service Pack 1 minimum to get all or really reap those benefits that you're paying for.
Yeah, actually, that's pointing out a greater point for around Office 365, what the huge benefit is. In my former life, long time ago, I used to work in the sustainability team in Windows, right? Building service packs, hot fixes, and I know how difficult it is for customers to deploy these things, right? It's a massive undertaking in terms of compatibility testing, regression testing. Taking this away from them, huge advantage. And of course, then keeping them in compliance on the latest and greatest stuff. Office 365 is a great solution in that respect.
That's right. And one of the major pieces that I'd like to point out here, if you read the licensing model and on Office365.com, you'll find E4, and if you scroll down a bit, you'll see the enterprise, the Plus Cal that's being offered with the E4 license, the Lync Plus Cal. So, and it says voice, right? A major confusion there is, are we getting voice if we go to the E4 license? Well, if you're looking at PBX functionalities in terms of end-to-end, being able to open Lync and make a call directly to a normal phone, that's not currently there. You can't receive a call on your Lync Online services, as of now at least. But what you're talking about, full-fledged PBX functionalities, is you need to deploy Lync on-premises for the users that you feel are going to require those PBX or enterprise voice functionalities, like we say with Lync. And what we're providing with the E4 license is the readiness to do that. So in Lync Server, if you talk about the on-premises product, you have a couple of client access licenses, and the Plus license is the one that gives you the voice capabilities or the voice functionalities. So if you're deploying Lync on premises, which you need to purchase a license off, that's not included in the E4 license, once you deploy that, you are all set to use the voice functionalities if you're subscribed into E4. Again, that's not mandatory to be subscribed into E4 for that, but that's a benefit that you can reap.
Oh, okay. Great insight. So before we move on to, I think, new features, there's a great question that we actually got in from our viewers, and that is, we talked more extensively on how to plan for whether you choose the P or the E plan, in terms of, for instance, user size, right? It's maximum of 50 users. What if by chance your company explodes and you planned for the P plan and you're going beyond the 50 user limit? Can you upgrade from P to E plan?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Again, quite a common question that's there on a lot of minds in the customer segment today. Now, at the back end, the P plan or the small business plan and the enterprise platform or the deployment is kind of separate. Right, so because we need to make that division, secure it, and manage it that way. There's no direct upgrade that you can do from a P or small business plan to an enterprise plan in terms of technically. You can surely go out and purchase an upgrade or get the E plan, but you need to do a migration from the small business P plan to an enterprise plan that you would go for. So I think planning is, again, crucial in this particular section. There is a good possibility that at times we could still face this issue, but 99%, if you've planned well, you should not hit this roadblock in terms of how you're planning for the customer. So not looking just at a year down the road, but 3 to 5 years that a customer is going to stay signed in with us and use these particular services. What is the growth percentage going to be? Are they looking at possible mergers, demergers, acquisitions, things like that is probably what you need to consider when you're planning for these pieces as well. And we'll look at more detail as with these kind of I'd say roadblocks or issues that customers may experience if not planned for well.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. Right, so going ahead with the different new features that are available, so just like to quickly run you through what are different feature sets that we introduced in the Office 365 piece as compared to the earlier BPOS. So we, of course, provided Office web apps with as a subscription. In the Exchange pieces, we're providing Exchange unified messaging as a role deployed. So we're able to provide you with voicemail in addition to email in the cloud, so you can have a telephone system or a VoIP system on premises, integrate that to work, or send your email to the voicemail to the Exchange unified messaging role in the cloud. We also started providing the archiving piece a bit differently than we did earlier with BPOS in terms of the user interface and how it works. Again, we're going to do archiving as a separate piece, so I won't kill that session just yet. With SharePoint, a major improvement that came along was the internet-facing website. So you get one internet-facing website that you can utilize and publish kind of static content, My Company portal, out into the internet for customers to access anonymously. And on the Lync Online pieces, it's, of course, the way the product itself is designed is to give you a unified experience in terms of the client that's there. It's a single client that you need to use, and for users that are joining in externally, you don't basically require a client. You can join in using the web browser. So that's a couple of improvements. We'll keep on digging into this as we go along. But some of the major changes here is we had a couple of portals with BPOS that you need to maneuver across. With Office 365, there's just one portal, and I'll walk you through in about 2 minutes there. We had what we call as the sign-in client, a small install that you need to make on the desktop so that the user gets a kind of single sign-on experience, but not exactly a true single sign-on, no integration between the online Active Directory and the on-premise. And I think my friend Fulvio, who's going to come shortly, is going to talk in detail about how to do that. So that's the base changes that we have. You have now the service connector that you need to install on a desktop that you're preparing to use Office 365 offer. So that keeps you up to date in terms of the service pack, the patches that are required to run perfect with the online services from time to time, and keeps you up to date on that. We introduced role-based access control, so you have a couple of inbuilt roles that you can delegate rights and access to. We're drilling down more and more. So for the folks that are familiar with the on-premises products like Exchange, Lync, etc., we introduced RBAC there, and we're kind of following that with the online services too.
Great.
And for partners specifically, we have delegated administration. So if you have a customer that's on Office 365 and you want to have access or help them manage the services, you can have a delegated administrative rights, which gives you sufficient rights to manage the services. Again, what are those rights? If you're wondering about that, we'll be covering that in detail.
So much more control, and actually that's another security aspect, right? You can split up the roles and make sure you don't have several super users, but just one super user, and split up all the other admin roles. It's
exactly.
Great. Yeah.
Right. And for the guys who love scripting, I'm personally not one of them.
I like scripting.
Yeah, we work with it. So we have PowerShell that you can use for your scripting needs, and you can do majority of the tasks with PowerShell directly. From a single sign-on perspective, we introduced Active Directory Federation Services 2.0 as one of the pieces that you can deploy on-premise to actually get the true single sign-on experience and integrate line of business applications, etc., with the online services, the true hybrid model.
Right. Yeah. Separate model, just focused on this, a really important topic.
Exactly. All right, and a couple of requirements on your screens right now in terms of what are the operating systems that we support, what are the Office clients. Just a couple that I'd like to pull out here is we don't support Outlook 2003 or Office 2003 for that matter with Office 365 services. Reason being, we have an amazing set of features and functionalities that are there with the 2010 line of products, and Outlook 2003 or Office 2003 is just not ready because it's legacy to manage and handle and provide end users with that great experience.
So that's 10 years old,
yeah,
right?
Out of support too. So that's one of the major reasons. All right, so let's get you started with the Office 365 console itself. So if you're not signed in yet for a trial, just to get a hands-on onto it, you can go to the office365.com link, click on the trial button, sign up. It's like a 2-minute process. You fill up a form, provide your domain name. That does not necessarily need to be your actual domain, just a name that's not being used on the Office 365 services. Subscribe into it, and you'll get an email almost immediately that you can sign in and start working. So if you've not done this, if you don't have one, I'd suggest sign up for this. So maybe at the end of each day, you can go back, maneuver yourself through the console. That can help revise what we're studying.
Yeah, hands-on experience.
Nothing replaces that. Right?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go to the Microsoft Online Services portal, and let's have a look at different things that we can do.
Check it out.
So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I have the portal open with me. So that's https:// portal.microsoftonline.com. If you're wondering the link, it'll redirect you to login.microsoftonline.com once you actually click on it. So I have my test user or my demonstration user up there already. I'm going to put in the password. Just make sure that you guys are not getting it. So that's ... Okay, so I'm not getting it right now. All right, we're in. So this is the first view. If you're the administrator, the first sign-in that you're getting, this is a view that you're going to see. I'm in an enterprise subscription, so I'm going to walk you through that. Let's start with the subscription piece itself. So if you're looking at billing and subscription management, maybe you're the guy who's going to manage this as an administrator in that organization or for your customer, or there's going to be someone special to do that. So I have the E3 plan that's provided to me, and I have the K2 plan, pretty much the top-end plans that you can go for, and about 25 licenses a year. Again, this is a demo account, so it says no cost, but you're going to be subscribed into it. And it also gives the expiry dates. So basically, when I need to renew my subscription or my contract, rather. So that's the managed licenses and subscriptions. It shows me how many are assigned, how many are not, and I can make additional purchases. So like I was talking, you can have E1, E2, E3, E4 that you can purchase, K1, K2, and you can also purchase separate subscriptions for each of the functionalities that we provide. So there's Office Pro Plus, there's Exchange Online, Office Web Apps, etc. Right, so let me scroll back up. And from the admin overview, so I'm going to really brush you guys through really quick in about 2 minutes, because this is a console that we're going to see every single time, every single module, so I don't want to burn you out just yet. So the admin overview provides you with management to the core functionalities. Again, based on what you're subscribed for is what you'll see, what you'll get access to manage. We'll have a look at the overview and custom plan when we're talking about the planning sections or planning modules. So you can actually build a custom deployment plan based on your needs. The web-based tool just helps you do that. And this is a great start point to plan. You have your users, you can create users. Again, we have a module that talks about what are different ways that you can create, how you can create these, with some great demos lined up. Similarly with security groups like we have on premises, and the most important point, adding your public domain into Office 365. You'll note I have 3 of them actually added. One's a main domain, officecorp.info, and the rest of them are subdomains of that. And they are verified, which is, again, important. Now, from the support perspective, you have a bit of URLs that you can use the community access right here that you can search through. And on the right side, you have any service request, or basically tickets that you've opened with Microsoft and what's the status of that. If you want to initiate a service request, you basically click on service request, click new. You don't even need to pick up the phone. And you select the respective options that apply to you at that point in time. Click next, put in your description, and a support professional will start working with you based on the SLA. All right, let me cancel that.
Great.
Now, sorry?
That's great. That's great. Don't pick up the phone. And you can follow every service request, even the ones you opened up via the phone, right? Will be showing up here.
Yes, very much. Very important. You can track all of it just there. All right. And if you're an admin and you get a call, a lot of time that's going to happen. Especially when you have your own deployment, that I'm not able to access my email. So, well, you don't have access to the service themselves directly, so how are you going to know if the service is working or not? So what we're doing is we're publishing a service health status with different services, all the services listed for you, and their health. So if you see a green check mark, you're good. probably a user desktop issue or connectivity issue that you want to troubleshoot. That's a great start point. You'd also see information tabs if there were some service or uptime that was, or management that was being done, or some change that happened on that day. If you see a red cross, there's a taxonomy. If you see a red cross, that means the service is down and you need to check on that. So that's the service health, great place to start. And you can also go to planned maintenance. So we promise you 99.9% uptime, and our maintenance plans are up there for you to ensure that you're able to plan with your end users as to when or if there's going to be any service interruption, if any. So that's the admin console, a basic overview. You also have the downloads piece right here in resources, and again, the community help search for your piece. So I'm hoping you're enjoying the sessions. I think that's
Thank you, this was great insight, very good overview, very quick view of the admin console. And with that, we're going to close out for this module. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Join us for the next module, will be basic user management. And we will have another instructor joining us then, and we have introductions there. And with that, thank you so much. Thank you, Ajinka.
Thanks, Stefan.